Quite clear here in Birmingham that social justice and human rights are under threat right here on our doorstep. I won't, of course, pretend that the problems of Birmingham, the second city and the fifth richest country in the world, compare to the harshest of problems experienced in other parts of the world. But nevertheless, we have our own inequalities and we have our own challenges. Poverty is also highly concentrated in parts of the city that leads to wide inequalities in life expectancy across the city. So if you happen to live in the wealthiest part of Birmingham, you can expect to live 9 years longer than if you live in the most deprived part of Birmingham. That is a situation we cannot allow to continue into the future. Perhaps most shockingly of all, 42% of Birmingham children live in poverty. Many of those children live in households where someone has a job. What does it say about our society when even when you have a job, you still cannot make ends meet? It is unacceptable and again needs to come to an end. Like most UK towns and cities, we also have a growing homelessness problem.
And if you're not religious, at least we are human beings. And we are all democratic, if I may allow to say so. What is the role of religion? Muslims, Christians, Jewish is one thing, to bring about social justice. The question I want to put here, and then I will just suggest a solution and done. What do we see out there, locally and internationally? When you go out of your homes every morning to drop your kids to school, what do you see? I want us to reflect on this. Violence. People are losing their lives daily. What's the problem? And what's the cause? So in my humble opinion, Husayn is the solution. And that's what I want to talk about. We see all these problems. And we are faced with these problems. And yet we are religious. Yet we are democratic. I want to say the solution is nothing but
I'm here today to talk about has been global injustices, and we've been talking. One of the things I've been talking about as a former education minister, obviously, is the role of education and educating people both here and overseas in terms of changing their, improving their education, changing their life chances, and how that's the best way to obviously make sure people see how important international development is and the transformation it can make on different countries around the world, which is something we should support. We're very proud of the 0.7% aid target that we have, and actually that's a great way to put right some of the injustices we see around the world, but clearly we need to do much more.
As a part of government, please give us a few words about India.
I'm not in government anymore, so I'm afraid I can't comment.
I'm privileged to be here at this very special event. It's about social injustice. We have an array of individuals who are outspoken and challenging and honest. It's just disappointing that I can't stay for the whole of this summit, but it's wonderful, and I'm really pleased that we've got some individuals who genuinely care about all human beings.
This event, the view is that we believe Imam Husayn is a universal figure, and his message is universal. So we are here to expose our community to the universal message of Imam Husayn on administering social justice.
In India, I don't have much wisdom to provide, except that I am not a nationalist personally. I don't really subscribe to the notion that sort of aleatory divisions that have been created historically should be allowed to create hatred amongst people. In essence, we are all created by God and we are all stewards of God, and we therefore have a responsibility to ensure that the sacred life is not kind of taken without due consideration. I mean, it's ultimately nothing more important than that, in my sense. You know, the saying, if you kill one man, it's like killing the whole of mankind. If we held that in our heads, I think we'd be a lot more cautious about our politics.
इमाम हुसैन के चाहने वाले हैं, उस नाम ने खींच के ले आया हमें यहाँ, और जहाँ भी हमारे इंडिया में हुसैन डे होता है तो उस किस्म का एक ये हुसैन डे यहाँ पे इकट्ठा किया जहाँ के मुख्तसर फेथ्स के लोग जो हैं, दीन के लोग जो हैं, क्रिश्चियंस हैं, जूस हैं, एथियस्ट भी हैं, पॉलिटिशियंस हैं, ये अलग अलग लोग एक प्लेटफॉर्म पे आते हैं और इनको साथ इकट्ठा करने वाला एक नाम है जो है इमाम हुसैन। सो आई थिंक इस पर जो डायलॉग और जो डिस्कशंस होते हैं ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट होते हैं और लोगों को जोड़ने के लिए एक बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट प्लेटफॉर्म है। और जो हकीकी जो इस्लाम है, जो इस्लाम की रूह है, जो इस्लाम का एक जो सही फ़िलासफ़ी है, उसको इस प्लेटफॉर्म के ज़रिए हम प्रोपेगेट भी कर सकते हैं। अब कश्मीर का प्रॉब्लम चल रहा है तो आई थिंक पॉलिटिकली हम इस लायक नहीं है कि हम कमेंट कर सकें और दिस हैज़ टू बी सॉल्व्ड ऑन an international level.
Justice for the people of Kashmir just gets worse and worse. For many years now, we have tried to raise the world's eyes to the suffering of the people in Kashmir, the human rights abuses, the lack of a free media, the punishment, the pellet guns, the blinded children. These injustices cannot last forever, and my fear is that it's the interest of the citizens of Kashmir that will get lost in this conflagration between two great powers. There is a UN resolution that calls for the people of Kashmir to have the right to determine their own future, and what we mustn't allow is for that basic United Nations resolution to get lost in the standoff, the fight between these two great nuclear armed powers. The All-Party Group on Kashmir produced a very good report based on first-hand evidence recently. It was really hard to get on the ground to gather that evidence, but there is a great group of parliamentarians across all sides of the House who are determined that this issue, the world will not be allowed to turn its face from this issue when people are dying and when people are suffering.
कि तमाम मज़हब चाहे उनका ताल्लुक किसी भी मज़हब से है वो इस बात को तस्लीम करते हैं कि जो कुर्बानी सच्चाई के लिए, हक़ सदाकत के लिए जो इमाम हुसैन ने दी है तो इसकी दुनिया भर में कोई मिसाल नहीं है। तो इसी इमाम हुसैन को एज ए रोल मॉडल आकर ये इस समिट का ये मकसद था कि इमाम हुसैन ने सोशल जस्टिस के लिए, ह्यूमन राइट्स के लिए कुर्बानी दी है, तो उनकी कुर्बानी से हमें भी सबक सीखना चाहिए।
पे शेलिंग हो रही है और इसके अलावा अभी तक हिंदुस्तान की गवर्नमेंट जो है, हिंदुस्तान को ये अंदाज़ा नहीं हुआ कि उनको पाकिस्तान के ऊपर इल्ज़ाम तराशी की बजाय अपना घर जो है उसको ठीक करने की ज़रूरत है। और जो उन्होंने जुल्म रखा है कश्मीर में और जिस तरह से इंसानी हकूक़ की वहाँ खिलाफ वर्जी हो रही है उस पर इंडिया के मीडिया भी कोई बात नहीं कर रहा।
Abroad as well as in the UK, we had people from across the political spectrum and faiths, and it was very stimulating and a real conversation.
Husayn Conference 2019 is the first of many of a kind, inshallah. The conference has been on social justice. We've had some great personalities from Leon Byrne, Mehdi Hassan, Salma Yaqub and other people speaking on the injustices in Birmingham, worldwide, in the name of Imam Husayn, and the message that Imam Husayn had taught us 1400 years ago to stand up against injustice. This particular conference actually brings everybody under the same roof, whether you actually believe, whether you believe or not believe. It's a great opportunity for everybody to actually come and participate in something that affects us all, which is injustice.